It's all good.
Ladies and gentlemen, Vicki Savini. I'm going to have a moment. So, about you and how you're here and why you're here.
Okay,
you're
yeah,
gonna tell
me about that.
I'll tell you why
you're
here.
telling me or I'm telling them?
You're going to tell them really why you're here.
Okay.
So,
Well, I'm here because of my mom and dad.
Right. Well done. So, everybody take a big deep breath, first of all. Right. We have a fun afternoon planned. Just so you know, structurally, we're going to have 2 bigger game players present. 45 minutes each or so, about an hour and a half. Then we'll take a lovely break to enjoy the sun, and then we'll come back for our final session, just to give you louder. Sorry. Better? Okay. So I'm honored and always grateful to be a part of the Hay House publishing family. That was an amazing sort of place to get to in one's career, and Bigger Game arrived on their desk and it became a thing and a book and all that good stuff. And all of a sudden I'm in this huge family of other people doing good work in the world. And then Chuck and I said, well, we have to look into that world. Who's nearby, who's doing good work that we could get to our conference. And Vicki Savini showed up, doing great work with kids. You'll talk more about it. But the 3 words that what you're really about are
Education, enlightenment, and empowerment.
perfect.
Call it the 3 E's.
The 3 E's.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Bring us to your world, honey.
I'll take you there. Well, I don't know. Sometimes it's rainbows and pixie dust.
We're ready for that.
Okay. So, yes, my name is Vicki Savini. I am a Hay House author. For those of you who know what Hay House is, for those of you who don't, it's really no big deal. It just means they published my book. I'm not sure how that happened. I call it divine timing. But I'd like to talk to you today a little bit about the light within you and a little bit about my journey. Because when I was asked to come here, I was thinking, what is it that the universe needs for me to say? And it didn't come. And Chuck was saying, Vicki, can you send me that paper? Yeah, I'll get you that paper. It wasn't coming. That inspiration wasn't hitting me. And then probably about a week ago, it hit me. And I realized that it's really about the light inside of us. Is that me making that noise? It's a what? Oh, okay. Well, I'm not a golfer, so I wouldn't know that. So I want to talk to you about the light that's inside of you. And some people call that inspiration, some people call it spirit. And that's really where my book came from. I know that when I was listening to Elizabeth today, she said that, inspiration doesn't always come through you. It happened to her once when she was 22. I am actually very blessed because inspiration comes through me quite often, and it comes from what I like to call my guides. Now, when I was younger, I would say to my parents, well, I keep hearing this voice, and my mother would say, you hear what? I'm like, I keep hearing this voice. And she said, oh no, honey, you don't hear any voices. She really thought I was whacked. But I wasn't. I was hearing my inner voice speak. I was hearing my higher self. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about that today. So I want to take you first to, I'm supposed to point this way. Yeah. Take you to my story. And up here, you'll see a picture of myself years ago. I used to compete in the Miss America pageant. And I have my mom and my dad, probably one of the happiest times in my life because I had them by my side all the time. My dad was really my hero. He was my inspiration throughout my life. And I spent a lot of my time searching for the next best thing. I was a dancer, I was a writer, I was an artist. I was so creative, I didn't know what to do with myself. And I was always looking for that next thing, that next mountain to climb. I would win an art contest, and I would think, now what? I would win a dance competition. Now what? You know what I was finding? I was never truly satisfied. Have you ever felt that way? You think, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do the other thing. You do it, and then you're like, yeah, that didn't feel what I thought it was going to feel like. And so I went through my whole life like this, searching and searching and searching for the right thing to make me feel whole and perfect and complete. But I wasn't finishing a lot of products. And one thing that happened was I had this book. I'm a first grade teacher, by the way, by trade, every day of my life. And a life coach, and a this, and a that, and the list goes on. But really who I am is just a human being, just like you. And what's different, why I'm standing here, it doesn't mean I'm any better or any different. It just means that I'm listening to the voice within, and I hope to teach you to do that today. So what happened with me was I started to get very discouraged, or bored, so to speak. And I had this picture book behind my desk in my first grade classroom, and it was called The Light Inside of Me. And I always said, someday I'm going to publish a children's book. Someday. And years passed, and years passed, and years passed, and every year new students illustrated that children's book. And I thought, well, someday I'm going to do this. But what do you think stopped me? Anyone want to take a guess? Fear, yeah. I was thinking, well, how would I get that published? Who would want to hear from me? Who would draw the pictures? Well, would I be good enough to do that? And so it sat behind my desk for a really, really long time. And then something happened that turned my world completely upside down. It was a Wednesday, right before Thanksgiving, the night before Thanksgiving. I remember walking up the stairs to my house and going to put my son in bed. At the time, he was 4. Part of our routine was reading a book together and then going in his bedroom and having some quiet time. And as I walked out of his bedroom and turned the light off, something hit me. Something deep inside of me said, you need to go sit at your computer and you need to type. This is that intuition. This is that spark inside of you. And I listened, which we don't always do. So I sat down, and it was about 8 o'clock at night. I just started typing, and I wasn't sure what I was typing, but I just started typing the first thing that came to me. And what came to me was the most amazing writing I had ever seen. About an hour and a half later, I sat back in my chair, and I said, oh my goodness, this is a book, but this isn't a children's book. What is this? What is this all about? My whole life has led to this, but I don't know what this is. So I was really excited, and I just wanted to share it with my mom and dad. And I was going home to visit them in Utica the next day for Thanksgiving. So that night, I went to bed, and I had a really big smile on my face, and I was extremely excited to get home. But in the middle of the night, something strange happened. This is also where intuition comes in for me. It comes to me about 3 to 4 o'clock in the morning. Anyone else have that happen? Take notes and listen when that happens. So I woke up in the middle of the night because I was having an awful, awful dream. Between that 3 and 4 o'clock hour, I had this dream that I was standing in a cemetery, and it was very dismal. There was a little bit of drizzle. And I looked to my right, and I saw one of my sisters, and she was looking down at a coffin. And I looked to my left, and I saw my other 2 sisters looking down at a coffin. Now, my mom has battled cancer for a good 20 years. So, of course, even in my dream, my mind said, oh, it must be my mom. And then in this dream, I remember looking up, straight across from me, and there it was. I saw my mom standing in black, looking down at the coffin. Still hard to talk about this to this day. That dream was telling me that the person in the coffin was my hero, my inspiration, my dad. I couldn't believe it, so I woke up out of a sound sleep. I was sweating, I was panting, I couldn't even think straight. Looked at the clock, it was about 4 in the morning. Took a deep breath and said, it's only a dream, go back to sleep. Turned to the left, and I see my 4-year-old in his feety pajamas, standing there looking at me with his big, beautiful brown eyes. And I said, Nico, honey, it's so early, what are you doing? Mommy, I just had a willy bad dream. What do you mean you had a bad dream? Tell Mommy about it. And normally he'll get in the bed and tell me all about the dream, and we'll send it up to the angels. He hopped into bed, and he looked up at me again, and he said, I can't tell you about this one, Mom. And that's when I knew. I knew that it was my guides trying to prepare me, but I was still in denial. So he and I fell back to sleep. 7 o'clock in the morning, the phone rings. Sure enough, it was my mom in a panic. My dad had been rushed to the hospital the night before, between 9:30 and 10 o'clock at night. Guess what time I went to bed that night? Between 9:30 and 10 o'clock. It's amazing how the universe works, but I didn't know that at the time. I'm going to fast forward a little, but I'll tell you that we spent a few days in the hospital, and because it was the Thanksgiving holiday, there were no answers to be given because doctors were with their families. We kept hearing this word cancer, cancer, cancer. I stood there as a healer and as my father's daughter, trying to heal him with Reiki and my love, and knowing very well that that might not happen. And I remember on Sunday, with my arms around him, it finally hit me. Sometimes you just gotta let go. I took a deep breath, I put my hands on his heart, and I said, Dad, I know God's trying to make you an offer that you cannot refuse. Because he did like the Godfather. I said, but I gotta tell you, you have to ask yourself, what's going to be better for you? Staying here on earth with us or going to the other side? And whatever you do, Dad, I'm gonna go ahead and support you, as hard as that is. And then I sang Over the Rainbow to him, because he loved when I sang. And within 10 minutes, my dad took 3 very deep breaths, and then he passed. Now, I'm telling you this story today because after getting through the pain of that for months on end and putting that book idea on the back burner, something kicked me. Something said to me, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? My father spent his whole life encouraging myself and my 3 sisters. He always had big dreams of his own, too, but he always put his dreams on the back burner for everybody else. Seeing my dad there, watching him transition to the other world, so to speak, and feeling his energy leave this earth was the hardest thing I ever experienced in my entire life. But it was his last encouraging message to me to say, get going, baby girl. You've got things to do. Now, I tell you this story because I'm in the wrong place again. It changed my life forever. I no longer started questioning myself and said, oh, I can't do that because I'm not good enough, or I can't do this. Let me tell you something. I'm a first grade teacher from Ballston Spa, New York. My book was published by an international publisher, a major international publisher. That wouldn't have happened if I sat back and said, oh, they're not going to believe in me. But it was that message that my dad left me with. My dad left that message without even knowing it. Stop waiting. I remember going to school a couple weeks after. I took that book that was behind my desk. I started making some phone calls, and I immediately had my children's book published. Who did the pictures? Children in my school. This is the children's book. It's called The Light Inside of Me. And what this book does is it teaches children to honor the light within. It teaches children how to make good choices by how they feel. Well, I rode that cloud for a good 2 years. And then suddenly, that book I started writing the night that my dad went to the hospital started to come back. I started to remember, oh yeah, I was writing a book, wasn't I? And I sat down and I said, well, let's have at it. So I no longer allowed my fears to hold me back. I no longer questioned whether I was good enough. Sure, those fears came in. When fear comes in for me, I welcome it. I say, you know what? You're okay. I think of fear like a little child that's scared and panicking. And I take that fear and I give fear a great big hug. Thank you so much for caring about me. We've got this. We can do this. I give fear the love that my fear never got as a child. And so all of my work is really based upon loving the child within, because that's really your light. So now I want to ask you, a lot of times we go through this life and our minds get so busy. How many of you have had busy minds, even when you're here in this peaceful place? Be honest. You know, your mind gets going, you start thinking, I really want to do this, but what if this and what if that? What are they thinking? Are they thinking of me this way? We have these crazy busy minds. Oh, I have to grocery shop tomorrow. I really do have to do that. I hope my husband does that. Our minds are completely full. And a few years ago, when I actually did have my book published, I started to become more mindful. Instead of being mindful, I love this little character, where my mind is full of lots and lots of thoughts, I started clearing my mind and being mindful. Now, Elizabeth talked this morning about meditation and how difficult meditation was for her. I have to tell you, meditation's difficult for me too. It is for most creative people because your mind is slowing down and speeding up at the same time. But I teach mindfulness, and mindfulness simply means focusing on one thing at a time. I teach first graders how to meditate. I teach first graders how to quiet their minds. And believe you me, if you saw my class and you saw how quiet they can get, you'd be amazed. We can all do that. Being mindful is the one thing that we can do for ourselves to ignite that light so that that inspiration does come in for us. We all have the power within us to connect with our guides or our higher self, whatever you'd like to call it, but we have to quiet the mind because the mind is where the fear comes in. That's where we start questioning everything. Okay, here's a question for you. Are you existing in this life or are you living? I want you to really think about that. Are you existing or are you living? Turn to someone next to you and talk to them about what you think that means. What does existing mean? What does living mean? I'm going to give you about a minute to do that. Go ahead and turn to someone. And I'll do a countdown for you. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, existing. I call it 1 foot, 2 foot. How many of you talked about just putting 1 foot in front of the other, going through the motions of life, doing what you got to do? Anybody talk about that? I call that 1 foot, 2 foot. And let me tell you, we all do it. The hamster wheel. Anybody talk about feeling like you're always on the go? Like a hamster? Always on the wheel? No time to really live life because you're busy, right? And the third one. Someday. Someday I'm going to write a book. Someday I'm going to try out for American Idol. I'm really too old for that. Someday. Anybody talk about their some days? You're existing, you're looking at some days, aren't you? Yeah. What does it mean to actually live? Being mindful. If I'm right here, right now, in this moment, I'm living. Everybody close your eyes for 1 minute. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Release it out through your mouth. Take another deep breath in. Release it with a sigh. How's that feel? Feels awesome. Do you know why? Because you're slowing everything down and you are just being present. Just being present. That's part of living. Living is being inspired. It's feeling that light within you. When you get a great idea, you know what that feeling is, don't you? When something makes you feel like you want to get up and move, you want to do something, you're inspired. That's the light inside of you. Oh, I keep clicking at the screen. Trusting. This is a big one. If I'm living my life instead of existing, I'm trusting in the universe. Even though bad things are going to happen, I know that I'm okay. It was the worst thing that I ever could have imagined was to lose my dad from this physical plane. But honestly, I don't know that I would be where I am today if he didn't exit at the time he did. It was as if he closed the door to exit so that I could open the door to start really living. It was his one way of teaching me that, his last hurrah. The difference between living and existing has 7 steps in it. And I talk a lot about these 7 steps in my book, Ignite the Light. This is the book that came from that writing when my dad went to the hospital. Sometimes I can't even believe that I'm holding this book. But again, it's all divine timing. It's called Ignite the Light, Empowering Children and Adults to Be Their Best, because I really believe that childhood is too precious to ignore. And even though I don't have children here in the audience, I know that many of you have children of your own or work with children. And you've probably come to realize just how critical that time period of childhood is, have you not? Everything that happens in childhood truly affects who we are. And sometimes we don't have the essentials that we need to move forward in life. So let's talk about the 7 essentials. The first one is to love yourself. Oh, that's nice, isn't it? To love yourself. It's sweet, right? Everybody says that. Doesn't everybody say that? So what the hell does it mean? Oh, you gotta love yourself. What does that mean? Loving yourself means being mindful of what you're saying to yourself. I bet if you were to sit here and think about conversations that you had, even today or 5 minutes ago, you would say to yourself, wow, I said something negative about myself. I still do this. I was sitting at lunch talking with someone, and I said, I can't believe I have to follow Elizabeth Gilbert. Are you kidding me? How positive was I being? Being mindful of how you talk to yourself and how you treat yourself is one way to love ourselves. And I think sometimes we make it too difficult. Taking good care of yourself, treating yourself the way you want others to treat you. And I remember this morning someone was talking about really wanting to find their soulmate, and I don't know if she's here. I don't know that she is. But I was thinking, there's others? I was thinking, wow, I went through that in my life too, and I do think everybody goes through that. But at one point I realized, geez, I feel like I'm looking for the missing piece. There's this book by Shel Silverstein, I believe. It's called The Missing Piece. It's a children's book, but you can do a lot with it. And it talks about going through and looking for this missing piece, this missing piece, this missing piece. And in the long run, it learns that it doesn't need another piece. It's perfect just the way it is. So we all go through that. I went through that. I'm married. I love my husband dearly. But is he my missing piece? No. I was driving up here and I was feeling nervous. And I called him and I said, hon, I'm feeling really nervous. It's been a long time since I've done this. He's like, oh no, you're gonna be fine. I sat there and I'm like, are you serious? Is that all you got? Well, hon, you always say you're nervous and then you go and then you're gonna be fine. I'm like, okay, thanks. So I hang up on him and I keep driving. And then I get really annoyed. How dare he? I told him, I need you. I need you. And you're not there for me? I call him back. I just want to let you know you really hurt my feelings. You dimmed my light. So at this point, he starts laughing. He's like, hon, really, seriously, you're going to be fine. You always say this. I go, no, you know what? I'm going to give you a few minutes to think of a really good way to encourage me, and then you need to call me back. I hang up on him. Driving too fast because I'm mad. I see a trooper. Oh no, please don't pull me over. It's been 5 minutes. He hasn't called me back. I pick up my phone and I tell Suri to text him. Are you serious that you're not calling me back? I wait. 5 minutes later, I call him. Vin, are you kidding me right now? Babe, are you really mad? Yes, I'm mad. I told you I needed you. I needed you to just say, oh, honey, it's okay. You're going to be fine. I know that. I'm going on and on and on and on and on. He's like, I'm really sorry. I was getting Nico's breakfast ready. You're going to be fine. So I just said, okay, thank you so much, and I hung up. And as I was driving, I started laughing to myself. I was looking for him to be my missing piece again. I wasn't loving myself. I didn't need him to tell me, you're going to be okay. I'm not going to drop dead on the stage. Well, let's hope not. That would be really bad. I didn't need that. I needed to tell myself that. I needed to remind myself, you're okay. So what? It's been a long time. You're going to be fine. Everything's going to be great. Did I put him through hell? Yes. Was it a little fun? Yes. The second one is to feel your feelings. And I would go, I usually go more in depth to this, but I don't have that much time, so you'll have to read about it in the book. The book breaks everything out and even gives you little exercises and fun activities. Gonna kind of bring you back to school, I guess. Number 2, feel your feelings. How many of you have ever heard someone say to you, or have you said to someone else, you're fine, get over it. Suck it up. Don't be a drama queen. Heard any of those? We've heard those from the time we were young children. And unfortunately, those words have taught us to stuff our feelings. And so when our feelings come up, we don't usually know what to do with them. And we panic, and then it turns into fear. If we would just feel our feelings when they're happening, allow them to bubble up, give them a little hug, then they could go on their merry way. It's really important for us to feel our feelings. It was important for me to feel nervous, because if I didn't feel nervous, I wouldn't have taken the time to quiet my mind. It's always important to feel the feelings that we have and not to push them away. Because when we do push those feelings away, they're going to bubble up into something else, and we're really not going to like that. It's kind of like the universe hits you in the head with a 2x4, and you think, I should have paid attention to this before. Did you ever have that happen? I have a couple bumps on my head. The third one, and we already kind of talked about this with mindfulness, is to quiet your mind. You don't have to sit in meditation for 40 minutes a day to quiet your mind. I've taken those meditation classes. I've sat there with my leg going crazy because I couldn't stay quiet, and the guru was at the front of the class, and I was afraid I was going to get in trouble. You don't have to do that. If that works for you, great. But you don't have to do that to quiet your mind. My first graders quiet their mind by coloring mandalas. If you've ever seen mandalas, they're really amazing. If you go to printmandela.com, you can print your own mandalas. And even as an adult, that will help you to quiet your mind. Take out a pack of crayons, smell those crayons, that's going to help you to quiet your mind. It's the little things that we think are unnecessary that are very necessary in our world. So you can quiet your mind by walking in nature, by sitting quietly, by playing a guitar, by playing some kind of music, by drawing, by painting, by singing, by dancing. There's so many ways to quiet your mind. But if you don't quiet your mind at least once a day, you will be on that hamster wheel. You will be just existing through life because you're not giving your spirit a chance to soar. It's how you fuel yourself. So if you ever feel like you're on the side of the road broken down and you have no gas emotionally, it's because you're not quieting your mind. It's because you're not loving yourself. It's because you're not feeling your feelings. We are creative beings by nature, and that's what we need. We don't need gas in our tanks, but we need the nurturing and loving that we can give to ourselves. The fourth step is to tune in. This is a really good one. Tuning in, you would think it means, okay, so I need to be a good listener. Well, that's part of it. You need to be a good listener for other people, yes. But it means to tune in to what feels right to you. I'm not talking about your feelings, but the energy around you. This is really important to teach kids, and I teach them this because sometimes they come around other people who are not good for them. And something inside of them starts going crazy and vibrates and says, get out of this situation. And if we can teach them to honor that at a young age, imagine what amazing things they can do as they get older. So tuning in is really tuning in to your higher self. It's listening to that voice deep within you. I mean, if you have 5 or 6, you might want to consult somebody, but that voice inside of you, okay? The 6th one is to remove toxic thoughts. And I'm kind of buzzing through these pretty quickly. This is a really important one. This goes back to what I said in the beginning about loving yourself and how we talk to ourselves. We have 90% of our thoughts that are negative on a daily basis. I just read that in a study, and I didn't believe it. I was like, really? 90% of our thoughts are negative? That can't be. Everybody calls me like Polly Positive, Susie Sunshine. So I literally took a little notepad and I put a tally mark every time I had a negative thought. And it could be something simple like, I'm stuck at this red light again. Or, is it gonna rain again? Just all the little negative thoughts that I would have. Or I'm never gonna get to work on time. By the end of the day, that little tally or that sheet had so many tallies that I was blown away. And I felt exhausted. And I said, wow, I feel exhausted because my negative thoughts made me feel exhausted. So learning how to turn those toxic thoughts around is critically important. And when I'm working with kids, I teach them in the most simplistic way. And so I'm going to teach you as if you were a child. So let's say you're a kid and you say, oh, I'm really bad at math. I'm terrible at math. If you think you're bad at math, what do you think is going to happen when the teacher starts teaching the math lesson? You're going to zone out because you're going to think, I don't get this, I don't understand this, I'm not good at this. So the moment my children say something negative, I say, how can we turn that around? What do you really want it to be? And they might turn it around by saying something like, I'm getting better at math every day. So it's the same for you. If you make a comment like, I am so impatient, turn that around. How could you turn that around? I'm learning patience every day. We're way too hard on ourselves. And if we're going to be hard on ourselves, everyone else around us is going to be hard on us. The 6th one is to speak your truth, and this is one that many people have a difficult time with. We hold back, we have a filter. We don't want to say something, we don't want to step on somebody's toes, we don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. But speaking your truth simply means telling people what you're thinking and what you're feeling. That's all. You don't have to tell them what they should be doing, like I did with my husband. You can just simply say, I feel this way, and this is why. Have you ever heard of an I statement? An I statement, you say, I feel, and you tell the feeling. When you tell them what happened. Because, why do you feel that way? And then what you really need. Now, when you speak your truth, you might say, I feel really upset. Like for my husband, perfect example. I feel upset when you're not there for me because I need your support. And what I really need is for you to notice this on your own. My husband would have said to me, notice what? So sometimes you're going to speak your truth and you may not get exactly what you thought you wanted. But speaking your truth and getting those thoughts and feelings out is really important for you to keep that light bright. The 7th one, I think, is the most important one. And this actually goes back to the first one of loving yourself. It's called plug in because it means plugging in to your higher power, whatever that may be. Whatever it is that you believe is your higher power. Some people plug into their higher power by going in nature. Some people plug into their higher power by praying. Some people plug into their higher power by singing or dancing. Plugging in to that which reminds you that you are creative, you are wonderful, and you are beautiful. Plugging into that higher power, that higher energy. Now, I want to ask you guys to do something. It's just a quick exercise. And I do this for myself and for children when I'm feeling nervous or when I'm feeling that I'm not good enough, when I have an idea and I'm afraid to move forward. So I'm going to ask everybody to stand up straight and tall. We're going to do a little bit of yoga. Don't get nervous. It's not downward dog or anything. You're going to stand in mountain pose. So you're going to stand with both feet shoulder width apart, your arms down at your sides. Put your shoulders back so you're straight and tall, eyes completely forward. And you're going to say, I am a mountain. I am a mountain. Nothing and no one can knock me down. Okay, you're going to say that again, but you're going to close your eyes. Is there a way for me to come down? Oh, I didn't see those. So this time you're going to close your eyes, and you're going to say that again. I am a mountain. Nothing and no one can knock me down. You're going to have your eyes closed. I'm going to walk around, and I'm going to kind of gently push on your shoulder to see if you really believe that you're a mountain. Okay? So you're going to have to stand firm and tall, and you're going to have to really believe that you are this mountain. You are capable of doing amazing things. I am a mountain. Nothing and no one can knock me down. Now add this. I am strong. I am powerful. I can make great things happen. Now I'm going to come around, say whatever comes to you in your mind about being a mountain and being strong. Take a deep breath in, release it out. It's not fun when you don't do that with little kids. Nobody falls on the ground. How does it feel to stand in your own power? How does that feel? Does that feel good? Does it feel good to actually feel how strong you are and how powerful you are? So when you feel like you don't have it in you, you don't have the energy to go on, you're not good enough, stand there and say, I am a mountain. Nothing and no one is going to knock me down. You can have a seat. I'm going to end today with something just short and sweet, because as I'm standing up here talking to you, I'm hearing this in my mind. And if I don't listen when intuition is coming through, it drives me nuts. So as I'm standing here, I kept hearing, over the rainbow, over the rainbow, over the rainbow. And I'm like, wait, you want me to talk about rainbows? No, it's not rainbows and pixie dust. I already said that. So my guides, my dad, whomever, is asking me to sing a little bit of Over the Rainbow to you. And I'm going to do that today, but I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to imagine that it's you singing to yourself. Imagine that these are your words, okay? Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. Birds fly over the rainbow. Why, then, oh, why can't I? If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh, why can't I? So that must be my dad again. And it's just a message for you to remember that you can do anything as long as you believe. You can be anything as long as you can believe. But what's most important is when Spirit is calling you to do something, don't ignore it. That's that light inside of you. Just let it happen. Don't stand in the way. Thank you so very much.
So, I have an idea. Can you stay for a second?
I can, yeah.
Can you stay for a couple seconds? I have an idea.
You want me to move that?
No, you can put your stuff there.
Okay.
Perfect. First of all, the voice, right? Like, it doesn't, here's the
you.
coolest thing about you. It's sort of like, it's not a, you don't think it's like it's there, and then it's there.
I know, right?
So, would you be willing to do another one?
Sure, what do you want to hear?
I don't know, what do you got? Another one? Something, yeah. We haven't had a lot of that this year.
You haven't?
No, it's been interesting. It's like, I didn't know, so perfect.
Okay.
So I can feel my own hunger for, wow, that's a gorgeous voice. I want to hear more.
Okay, so what do we want to hear? Like, what's...
How about,
I don't know, I mean, I've...
Wonderful World, do you know Wonderful World?
What were you thinking? I heard somebody say I was thinking.
Whitney Houston, wow. What do you love?
I mean, I've sang a lot of different
Something
things.
from Wicked?
I don't know that.
Sorry.
I don't know Lion King, but I know there's a Lion King dancer in the audience.
Yeah. Aubrey, right. What do you, really, I want you to sing from your heart. You pick.
I wish I... Let It Go?
Yeah, right.
I don't know the words to it, but I'm saying it like that because my girls ask for that. I play Just Dance in my classroom on my smartboard. The girls ask for it all the time, and the boys are like, let it go. So it's just, but I don't know the words to that. But
So, go to you. And
What
I don't
is
mean to
it?
put you on the spot, sweetie, at all. Oh my gosh. So you can.
I can do it. I need a song.
So everybody, here's what we're gonna do.
Okay. I don't know if I know all the words to Firework.
Yeah, La La words.
Oh, Amazing Grace. I know
Amazing
that
Grace.
one. Okay.
Good.
Let's see. I might not know all of it, but okay. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. I don't know any more of those words.
Perfect. Oh my God. Perfect. Oh my God. That was delicious. Delicious. Oh my God. Ladies and gentlemen, Vicki Savini. Beautiful.
I'll think of another song and
Yeah.
I'll sing one for you later.
Yeah.
Sound
So,
good?
just a moment of acknowledgement.
Oh,
You're gonna have to
okay.
receive. So really, thank
Okay.
you for doing your good work with the children, of course, and thank you
Thank
for doing
you.
the good work with the children that lives in all of us.
Yes, deep
So,
within our hearts. That's where they
absolutely.
are.
Thank
It's
you.
never too late to be a child, and it's never too late to have a happy childhood.
Oh, right? That would have saved me thousands of dollars. Where were you? Thank you, sweetie, so much.
Thank you again.
We'll see you. You're gonna hang.